Imagine standing in the lobby of a five-star Caribbean resort. The air smells like salt and expensive sunscreen. You're watching your own daughter, her husband, and his parents walk through the doors, laughing, ready for the luxury vacation they explicitly told you weren't good enough to join. And then, they see you. Their smiles freeze. Confusion twists into anger. "Are you stalking us? Get lost," they shout, already looking for security to throw out the embarrassing, unwanted father. That's when the head of security walks over. But he doesn't look at me. He looks at them. And his words aren't for me. They're for the people kneeling on the polished marble floor, begging for a forgiveness they don't deserve. This isn't a stalker's fantasy. This is what happens when you mistake a man's quiet dignity for weakness, and his love for a blank check. If you've ever been taken for granted, if you've ever been made to feel small in your own home by people who are supposed to love you, then you understand the fire that burns in your chest when injustice goes unanswered. Hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. Because today's story isn't just about revenge. It's about restoration. It's about a man named Robert, a daughter named Ashley, and the moment a lifetime of kindness was repaid with the coldest betrayal. And Robert's response was a masterpiece. The final insult wasn't delivered in a shouting match. It was served on fine china in Robert's own dining room. He'd used his late wife Claire's wedding gift dishes, white porcelain with a thin gold rim. Only 3 pieces chipped after 40 years. He'd made Ashley's favorite pot roast, the recipe her mother perfected before cancer took her. He'd printed name cards. Small touches mattered. They arrived 20 minutes late. Kevin, the son-in-law, pushed through the door first. Ashley trailed behind, phone already in hand, a shield against genuine connection. Then his parents, Cynthia in a silk blouse that cost more than Robert's monthly electric bill, and Dennis in a blazer with gold buttons, surveying the living room like appraisers at an estate sale. The handshake Brandon offered was a transaction. Dismissive. "Thanks for having us." Walter served the meal on Claire's platter. The steam carried the smell of memory, of a family that used to be. "This looks quaint," Cynthia said, her eyes not on the food but on the dated wallpaper, the framed photos of Ashley at various ages, a museum of a life she now seemed embarrassed by. Walter tried. "I'm glad the promotion came through, Ashley. You worked hard." She didn't look up from her screen. "MHM. These things happen when you network properly." The knife twist was subtle, surgical. Walter had networked. He'd made 3 calls to former business associates, spent 2 hours on the phone with a hotel executive who owed him a favor, all to ensure her application landed on the right desk. She thought it was her own genius. Then the wine. A 2015 Napa Cabernet Walter had selected carefully. $60 he couldn't really spare. Brandon examined the label, eyebrows raised in what might have been approval. "Now this is a decent vintage." He poured for his mother, then his father, then Ashley. The bottle moved in a careful, cruel circle, skipping Robert's glass entirely before being set down out of reach. Ashley watched it happen. She said nothing. The conversation turned to their kitchen remodel. Granite countertops. Stainless steel. "The resale value alone," Dennis said. Then Brandon shifted his chair. It wasn't a casual move. It was a statement. He angled his body away from Robert, toward his parents, forming a wall. Ashley, his own daughter, turned with him, her back partially to her father. That's when Brandon dropped the bomb. Big announcement. "We're doing a family vacation. St. Walt. Paradise Cove Resort. 5-star, private beach, the works." Robert's fork paused midair. "That sounds wonderful." Brandon grinned. "We only had budget for 5 tickets. And my parents." The mathematics of exclusion. 5 tickets. For people named. The silence that followed was louder than any shout. "Robert," voice carefully level, "I can cover my own expenses. I'd love to join the family." Ashley didn't even look at him. She slid her phone to Cynthia, vacation photos loading. And she set it to the screen, not to her father. "We need a break from you, Dad." The room didn't spin. It contracted. Squeezed the air from his lungs. Cynthia and Dennis found their plates suddenly fascinating. Brandon jumped in with false apology. "It's not personal, Robert. Just quality time with the immediate family." Walter stood, his own plate still full, the pot roast congealing. "Let me get dessert." No one protested. As he walked away, he heard them already refilling their glasses, his wine, and laughing about spa packages. The sound of Ashley's laugh, light and easy, the way it used to sound when she was 12 and he'd take her for ice cream. He didn't get dessert. He walked past the kitchen, up the stairs, and closed his bedroom door. Below him, the celebration continued. Without him. That night something broke. Not in a messy, emotional way, but with a precise, cold click, like the final tumbler in a lock falling into place. Sleep was impossible. He sat on the edge of the bed he'd shared with Claire, in the jacket he'd worn to Ashley's wedding, to her promotion dinner, the jacket they'd all just silently mocked. Memories, sharp and painful, flashed. The $35,000 wedding. The $15,000 down payment on their Tesla. The one they drove past him last Christmas. The temporary credit card bailouts. Every check he'd written, met with a hug and a "you're the best, Dad." He was an ATM. And the account was now closed. Restless, he walked to his home office. The laptop there held a secret life. He entered the password, and the screen illuminated a truth his family never bothered to see. 4 properties. A hotel in Tampa, bought after the 2008 crash. A boutique inn in Sarasota. 2 bed and breakfasts in St. Augustine. All managed through Brennan Holdings LLC, registered under his middle name Walt. Current total value, $3.2 million. After Claire died, the quiet hospital facilities manager didn't just grieve. He built. Double shifts, night classes, weekend seminars. He told Ashley it was extra work to stay busy. She never asked for details. He opened a spreadsheet. $70,000. A conservative estimate of what he'd given them over 12 years. And they needed a break from him. As dawn crept in, he heard voices downstairs. Ashley and Kevin talking in the kitchen. He moved silently to the hallway. Ashley's voice, cool and manipulative. "We just need to approach it right. Make him think it's his idea. He's sitting on equity he doesn't need." Kevin, dismissive, "This house is way too big for one person." He's stubborn. "But if we frame it as simplifying his life, the old man doesn't have expensive taste anyway. He did wear that same jacket to my wedding." They weren't just excluding him. They were planning to evict him from his own home. Claire's home. To sell it and use the money for a bigger place for themselves. Walter returned to his desk. His hands didn't shake. They opened a browser. He typed, "Paradise Cove Resort, St. Walt. For sale." The listing loaded. Pristine beach, infinity pools. The exact resort. Asking price, $1.85 million. Owner retiring. Motivated seller. Closing possible within 60 days. He looked at the photo of couples drinking sunset cocktails. The family that needed a break from him would be there in 10 days. Then he checked his business account. Liquid assets, $2.1 million. A cold, crystalline clarity settled in his chest. This wasn't rage. Rage was hot and chaotic. This was a blueprint. He wrote in his leather journal, Paradise Cove. August 16th. $1,850,000. And he smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. What followed was a whirlwind of silent, efficient action. While Ashley and Brandon packed sunscreen, Walter was on a plane to St. Walt. He met the defeated owner, Gerald Finch, who showed him the slightly tired but beautiful property. He hired a sharp local attorney. He presented an all-cash offer, under asking, with a 48-hour closing timeline. By Friday, Paradise Cove Resort belonged to Brennan Holdings LLC. He sat in the owner's office, his office, and called in the general manager, Elena Torres. A capable woman who'd been holding the place together. "I'm keeping you on," he said. "With a 15% raise. Effective immediately." He slid a piece of paper across the desk. "I have specific instructions for one reservation. The Miller party. Arriving August 21st. He'd downgraded them from a deluxe ocean view suite to a standard room with a parking lot view. He'd increased all service prices by 40%. He'd scheduled necessary but noisy maintenance for the early mornings near their rooms. "When they complain," Walter instructed, "you explain it's due to the ownership transition. You do not reveal I'm the owner until I say so." Elena looked at the list, then at him. "This is personal." "This," Walter said, holding her gaze, "is business." August 21st. Walter stood in the resort hallway watching the security monitor. He saw the taxi pull up. Saw Ashley step out, blinking in the sun, then Kevin, then Dennis and Cynthia already taking photos. He walked into the lobby just as they reached the desk, clipboard in hand, every inch the owner. Ashley saw him first. "Dad." Confusion. Then horror. "What are you doing here?" Kevin's face flushed red with instant anger. "Are you serious? You followed us." Walter looked up as if mildly surprised. "I work here." Kevin's laugh was harsh, echoing. "You work here? Did you get a job as a janitor to spy on us?" He turned to Elena. Get security. I want this man removed. Elena nodded calmly to Hector, the security head. But then she stood, and her voice cut through the lobby with perfect, devastating clarity. Elena says Mr. Brennan is the owner of Paradise Cove Resort. As of August 19th, you are his guests. The color drained from Ashley's face. Kevin's mouth hung open. Cynthia's phone clattered to the tile floor. You bought this hotel? Ashley whispered, the world tilting on its axis. I did, Walter said, his voice calm as the cove outside. What followed was a symphony of humiliation. The downgraded room. The parking lot view. The inflated minibar prices. The unfortunate Wi-Fi outage that only affected their rooms. The pool closed for maintenance during peak afternoon hours. Every complaint was met with polite, implacable professionalism. New ownership policies. We apologize for the inconvenience. It was all legal. It was all within the terms. And it was absolutely designed. Brandon ranted, threatened lawsuits, posted scathing online reviews. Robert's professional, bland responses only made Brandon look unhinged. A local attorney told Brandon he had no case. The vacation of their dreams had become a gilded cage of their own making. Checkout day arrived. They tried to leave early, desperate to escape. Elena presented the bill. With all the new rates and fees, $4,200. More than double their budget. Kevin's credit card declined. Then his backup card. In the end, it was Ashley, silent and hollow-eyed, who handed over her card to settle the debt of their arrogance. Walter flew home before them. He had one last piece of business. He placed the signed irrevocable trust documents for his house, making it completely untouchable, impossible to sell without his consent, right on his kitchen table. They returned exhausted and bankrupt to find them. The final phone call came from Dennis. Not an apology for their behavior, but an apology for the dent Brandon put in the wall. Cynthia is mortified, he said. We told everyone this was a luxury vacation. Robert's reply was simple. The luxury was your assumption. Then Ashley's voicemail. Sobbing, broken, about debt, about Brandon blaming her. Walter deleted it. These weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of consequence. Weeks later, a changed woman knocked on Robert's door. Ashley, no makeup, no pretense. I was a terrible daughter, she said, the words finally real. Walter was guarded. He showed her his portfolio, the 4 properties, the empire she never saw. I didn't want money to change you, he said. But you changed anyway. You saw me as a resource, not a father. He gave her a choice. Pay back every penny and be done forever, or stay in the area, rebuild her life alone with no financial help, and maybe they could rebuild a relationship. She chose the hard road. The road with dignity. They started having simple meals. No grand gestures. Just presence. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Forgiveness requires time. But it wasn't war anymore either. This story was never about destroying a family. It was about a man reclaiming the respect they systematically stripped away. It was about showing that love is not a license to exploit, and that silence is not weakness. Sometimes, it's the quiet gathering of strength for a lesson that needs to be taught. Walter didn't just buy a resort to get even. He built a boundary made of solid gold and enforced it with the cold, hard rules of business. He showed them that the man they took for granted was, in fact, the most powerful person in the room. Revenge, when it's earned, isn't about cruelty. It's about clarity. It's the universe's way of handing someone a mirror and making them look at what they've become. If this story of quiet power and devastating justice resonated with you, smash that like button. It tells the algorithm to share this with others who need to hear it. Tell me in the comments, what was the most satisfying moment for you? Was it the check-in? The bill? The trust documents? Let's talk about it. And if you believe that dignity is worth fighting for, no matter how quiet the fight, subscribe. We have so many more stories of karma, comeuppance, and restored justice waiting for you. Thanks for listening. Until next time, remember, never mistake a quiet man for a weak one.